Hello and welcome. My name is Peace Mitchell and I'm co-founder of Women Changing the World Press. Before we begin today, I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land that I live and work on, the people of Mamu country in North Queensland. I would also like to pay my respects to traditional owners and elders, past and present, right across Australia and the Torres Strait. So, we are very excited to be here today celebrating the launch of our new book, Authenticity and Action. This book is all about living your most authentic life, true to yourself, and taking action on your dreams. So, it's an incredible book, and I'm incredibly honored to have one of my fabulous co authors with me today, Abbey Dyer-Amonette. Please join me on stage, Abbey.
Hey, Peace.
Hello, how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so happy to be here. It is so lovely to see you.
So good to see you as well, Abbey. Now, for people who haven't met you before, I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you and the work that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, Abbey Dyer-Amonette, AI expert and business coach, and I help women enjoy more freedom using AI and other types of tech. I spent 25 years in corporate America in operations and technology and had the opportunity to become a full-time entrepreneur last year, which was very exciting. And it gives me the opportunity to really support women in a much bigger way. And I feel really honored to be able to do that.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Abbey, your chapter is called The Moment of Awakening. And there's a line from your chapter, right? Your opening line, in fact, that says, there comes a time in your life when you realize that the life you're living is no longer enough. Can you tell us a bit about why you chose this title and how you start your chapter?
Yes, absolutely. I had a real epiphany last year in May, and it started on a trip to London. I had never been, but I had the opportunity to speak on AI to a group of female entrepreneurs. And I went off to London. I spoke on stage, had a lovely time. I am an introvert, but I really love being on stage and speaking, especially about techie sorts of topics. And I came back home and sat down in my desk right over there. And all of a sudden, it was really claustrophobic. I felt like there was so much more I was supposed to be doing. And this trip and kind of the contrast between being on stage and speaking and talking about something I was really passionate about compared to how I felt about email and some of the other things sitting at my corporate desk, there was just this disconnect. And I felt it very, very clearly for the first time.
I love that. And sometimes we have to put ourselves out of our comfort zone to do something different, like traveling to the other side of the world and speaking on stage, to really realize that there's more for us. We have more potential and possibilities. But in order to realize those opportunities and possibilities, we have to let go. And that's not always easy. You talked about this in your chapter. Can you tell us a bit more about what that experience felt like and looked like for you?
Absolutely. It was terrifying and exciting at the same time. I had been very much ingrained in my corporate career. I grew up in a family where achievement was really important. And so academic achievement and corporate or business achievement. And so that's my identity was tied up in all of that. And so to think about not doing that anymore was absolutely terrifying. And to think about, what does that mean? What does that mean I'm going to do instead? And so there was really this whole internal process of, who am I without that corporate achievement? And I had known for a long time, ever since I was young, that there was something big I was supposed to do. So I always felt that way. And I got involved in volunteer work very early in my life because I knew there was something and I just hadn't quite figured out what that was. And at one point I thought, oh, it must be all of the people that I'm leading and mentoring in the corporate space. But I achieved that. And I still had this feeling of there's more, there's more, there's more. So absolutely terrifying and exciting all at the same time.
Oh, I love that. I love that. But you touched on the fact that you had that knowing, and that you've always had that knowing that you were meant for bigger things. In your chapter, you talk about when you went to college and you were working 3 jobs. Can you tell us about that time in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. I put myself through school. My family did not have the money to be able to put me through school. So I worked 3 jobs, and I was a cashier at a grocery store, at a Food Lion. I was a bow maker. And I know when I say that, like, what? But we used to make bows. Like, bows were a really big deal in your hair, and they put bows on shirts. And so I was a bow maker. And then I also worked for a doctor, which interestingly enough kind of led to my ultimate career for 25 years in healthcare, because I really kind of fell in love with the fact that you help people in the healthcare space. But it was a tough time. I had ADHD. And so studying and reading in college was really challenging for me. I'd always struggled with school, but college, of course, is kind of the next level. And so I balanced a lot then. And now I say my ADHD helps with all that entrepreneurial balance. I think it probably helped then as well. But I worked really, really hard to put myself through school.
Yeah, that's an incredible achievement to be balancing all of those things all at the same time. In your chapter, you also talk about the lessons that you learned through the hard times in your life. So you faced divorce, but also had significant debt at that time. Can you tell us a bit about that and how you navigated that?
Absolutely. And it seemed like a lot more money, and back then it was. I ended up being in my early to mid 20s. I had moved from what I thought was the farthest away that you could get from home at the time. I was in Tennessee and I moved to Washington State. I didn't realize at that point that, there's Australia and India and then all of those places. But then it seemed like a really long way. And so I moved away from home, and then ultimately moved back. And not long after that, got divorced. So I was my early mid 20s divorced. I had gotten involved with network marketing. And in that particular situation, not a great company. And unfortunately ended up $50,000 in debt. And again, $50,000 then was like $100,000 now. So it was just completely overwhelming, the size of the debt. And so I worked really hard in my corporate job in my early years to get myself out of that situation, but did learn from that situation and multiple others that I was an entrepreneur at heart, and I was going to be back around at being an entrepreneur and helping people through that. I just didn't know exactly how.
Mm. Oh, I really loved reading your chapter. There's a part in it where you talk about your son. Can you tell us about that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I know many people, probably like me, have been through fertility challenges. We tried for 4.5 years, had trouble getting pregnant, lost some pregnancies. But ultimately, I knew I wanted to adopt anyway. And everything happens for a reason. I absolutely believe that. And so my son, who is 9 now, was a miracle, an adoption miracle. We got a call after working with an agency, and it was one of those where it was baby today. And the only thing that we had gotten, because we had been told we'd have 3 or 4 months to prepare, the only thing we had was a changing table in our guest room. And so it was a very quick trip to Babies R Us for a diaper bag and a car seat and all the things, right, that you needed. And we couldn't even get our car seat in correctly. Like the nurse had to come out and help us put the car seat in. We were trying to fit it in backwards. So it was quite an adventure. We drove 6 hours and secured an attorney, picked a name, did all the things on our way to meet our son.
That's such a beautiful story. I can't imagine what that must feel like to get a phone call like that and, be told you're going to be a mother and it's today.
Right. Yes.
Like a whole roller coaster of emotions and
absolutely
everything organized.
Again, terrifying, exciting all at the same time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Abby. I've really loved chatting with you today, and I loved reading your chapter. And there's so much wisdom, so many lessons in there, and I know our readers are absolutely going to love it. Thanks again for being here. Thank you for all of our viewers for tuning in, and make sure you grab your copy of Authenticity in Action. I think Abby has her copy there, if you'd like to hold it up for us.
I do.
You can pre-order at wcwpress.com. Thanks, everyone, and thanks so much, Abby.
Thank you.